All right, let's see. We are live, and this is Richie Cantardesi coming to you live from sunny and beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, coming to you with another episode of SalesPreneur, and this is an extremely important episode and something that is extremely exciting. And I'm really excited about this one because I've put so much thought. I've had a lot of time to put thought into this, and it's been an amazing experience how having a baby has taught me how to close sales and has solidified my process and proving that. So I'm going to give a minute here just for a few people to hop on, and then we'll go from there. Now that I have had the baby, I am still going to continue to try to make these lives as much as humanly possible. But I am kind of back on the road on the last 2 days. I was on the road. I got back actually late Monday night, and I'm back on the road next week again. But when I'm not, I'm going to be here coming to you live. I'm going to keep these episodes coming. As I feel and have seen just from the comments and DMs and stuff that obviously this is making a big impact. So I want to keep that going. So feel free to ask any questions, leave comments, let me know that you're here throughout, and then at the end I'll get back to them. But what's up, Eve Jeanette, Michelle Stevens, how you doing? From New Hampshire, awesome, congratulations, thank you. Yes, it was such an amazing experience, and I literally, throughout the experience, took notes throughout the whole process. And as I was going through the process, I had no idea I was going to do this episode or do something on this, but as I was going through this, I was just in shock at how similar having a baby is to really achieving any goals that you have. And I think it's so similar to closing sales. So I was like, let me just document. I documented the whole thing throughout the whole process. I kept pulling out my phone as much as I could and leaving notes and just really putting down what happened and what I kind of learned from it. And it was such an amazing experience. And I know that there are some women, obviously, based on these comments that I have right here, that have probably been through this and who have done this. And I have to say this before I even jump to this, is women, you are warriors. You're warriors, and you are the definition of relentless. And I'm going to share kind of my process and how I feel and how I came to that conclusion. So thank you for everything that you do. I have a newfound respect. I always knew that it was really difficult, but after experiencing it, I'm so blown away at what it actually takes. And so we'll talk through that. So the first thing is I'll talk a little bit about Rose. Rose is my partner. She is the one that had the baby and my significant other. So thanks, Emily. I appreciate that. Again, throughout the process, if you have any questions on this or comments, definitely leave them and I will get back to them at the end. I think that's important just to kind of recap, because everything I'm going to share with you today is, yes, I'm going to walk through the process and the story, but everything that I'm going to share is exactly what you can do to achieve whatever goal you have, whatever the level of success, whatever success means to you, because it is the exact same process. So the first thing were that before we even walked into the doctor's office, the hospital, Rose had put together goals that she wanted to accomplish during this birth. So she went and did these birthing classes and wanted to do this natural birth, no epidural. And she legitimately wrote down her goals of what she wanted to accomplish, how she wanted it to go down, and visualized it. And not just she did have that one big major goal, which was to have a healthy baby and to be healthy herself. That was the big goal, is to have, a regular vaginal birth, natural, and everything was healthy. That was like the big goal. But what I took away and what I noticed was it wasn't just this one big goal that she had, but she had all of these little goals along the way, which would lead to that big goal that she had. And that's so important in sales or as an entrepreneur, or really when you're trying to achieve anything, because most people, they have this one big goal they want to achieve and they're so excited and they go after it. But they don't really have clarity on the steps and the things that they should do along the way. And that was like, man, it just really solidified, because that's something that I always talk about. But seeing that firsthand live in this situation was so important. And I'm going to share how important that was as I talk through this. It's about the little wins. It's about the little wins in life, because that big goal may take 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 5 years. So if we're not having little wins along the way, it's very difficult to stay motivated. And that's one of the ways that she was able to stick and stay very motivated. So the next thing is, a lot of people, they don't have a plan, right? So they have this goal and maybe they have their little goals, but they don't necessarily have a plan of how they're going to achieve that goal. And it's extremely common. Most people do this. And she had a birth plan. Like, she legitimately had a paper that she handed to the doctor, that she handed to the nurses, that had the way she wanted it to go down and a plan of how she was going to achieve these goals that she had. And that was another huge takeaway and eye-opener, is like, how often do we have things that we want to accomplish and we're excited, but we don't actually have the clarity in a written out plan? And so I was like, man, it was like, I knew she had talked about it, but I didn't actually see it until we got to the hospital. I'm reading it and the doctor's reading it and the nurses are reading it. And so everybody, including herself, had something to follow, so that things weren't lost in translation. And so what I refer this to in business or in sales is having systems. And we talk about that all the time, is having things that, not just you can follow, but other people around you can follow. So that was a big thing. This next one is all about visualizing. And she had terms and terminology of how she was visualizing things that are going to happen. So this example is I'm not going to go too in depth with it, but basically she wanted to visualize herself, her body, when she was having the baby, almost opening up like a flower. And this was a term that she constantly used, and she wanted the nurses and the doctors and everybody to use. And so it was really easy for myself, as somebody who was there, who was a coach, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, to also know not only what she was visualizing, but like I could visualize it too. And it gave me so much more power in that room, and have the ability to not just help her and coach her, but also look at the people, the doctors and the nurses and everybody else there, and help them visualize what we want to happen. So we have things that we want to achieve. We need to be able to visualize them, but other people aren't going to see it like you do. They're not going to believe like you do. They're not going to see your goals and your dreams and your ambitions and these type of things the same exact way you do. So we have to help the people around us, and with metaphors and different things, visualize what we visualize. We have to help them do that. So the second thing, and this is everything, and I've talked about this quite a bit, she actually, we brought in a doula. So a doula is somebody who is basically a coach. They understand the process. They've done it so many different times, and they're able to help and advise along the way. And this goes for if you're in entrepreneurship or if you're in sales, right? Is like, if we try to go in it alone, when things happen that we don't understand or we've never experienced before, now we're in a position where we have to try to figure it out. And like, having a doula, having a coach gave us the ability, first of all, gave us the confidence, and it allowed us to say, hey, anything that happens in this process, we're going to have the support, and we're going to know who to turn to ask questions to make sure that we can stick with this goal, so we can make sure that we stick with this plan. And so with you and your goals and your ambitions and if you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales, like, do you have somebody that you can turn to when things happen that you're not sure of, to be able to ask questions, to have that support so you can be more confident in what you're saying, so you can be more confident in what you're doing? And so that was something that really stood out to me again. And in my documentation here is something that she had put together and that we had. And throughout this process, you'll see how critical having that coach, having that support and that mentor was for us through the process. And in general, like, she had her mom and her sister there, I was there, and just having support from the people around you and surrounding yourself with the right people is everything. As we went through this process, she was in labor for 34 hours, active labor for 15 hours, and pushed for 3.5 hours. Having that support and surrounding herself with the right people allowed her to get through this process 100%. So my question to you is, on this process, on this journey that you're on, do you feel like you're surrounding yourself with the right people who care about you, who support you, who are positive, who believe and allow you and trust you to go after what it is that you want? And so many people, we surround ourselves with the wrong people. We surround ourselves with friends who tell us what we're doing is not what we should be doing, or tell us to go and get something, a regular job, and not stick with something that's more difficult like sales or starting our own business. And so having her mom and her sister and myself in the room, the support around her, gave her the confidence, gave her the feeling that people truly cared about her. And it allowed her to kind of relieve some of the stress and anxiety. So I challenge you that in your life right now, if you have friends who are not supportive, or even family members who are not supportive, it's that point in time in your life to potentially maybe look elsewhere, to maybe find new friends, because this one piece right here was what pushed her and allowed her to get some of these difficult things that we're going to talk about. So another thing that really stood out is that throughout the process, she spent a lot of time practicing what it was going to be like when she started to have these intense contractions. And a lot of times we go into certain situations where, we're on a phone call with a potential client and we didn't practice enough some of the things that they're going to say and how we should be able to react to them. I truly believe that you should be 100% instinctual and use your instincts, but at the same time, we still need to have enough practice to know how to let our instincts do what they do, and not to have to think all the time, but to just let our instincts take over and do what they do. So as she was going through this process, she was practicing and she was pushing. And so 5 hours, we found out that she was complete. So she was at a position, she was 10 centimeters, she was dilated at this point, and we found out that she was ready to go. And so she spent about 5 hours going through this process, having her contractions, watching her go through this pain, which was pretty awful. So all the women on here, again, I have so much respect for you. But one of the things that happened was, she had been pushing, she had been having these intense contractions, and they rechecked to see where things were at, and nothing had changed. Nothing had changed. And now we're sitting in a position where it's like, okay, maybe we failed. Maybe things aren't going how they should. And it would have been easy in that point in time to begin to start to get down, right? Okay, we failed. We spent 5 hours going through this process, all of this pain, and nothing has changed. That is difficult to swallow. That's a very difficult pill to swallow, and it's something that happens all the time where we think we're doing all this work, we're doing so good, we're contacting so many people, we're talking to so many people, we're doing these videos and these Zoom calls with potential clients. We're doing these Facebook lives, we're doing all this stuff, but we're not making any progress. And it's extremely difficult to stay positive and to keep pushing, And so one of the things that I experienced, and I know she experienced too, is really the fear of the unknown. Like, when are we going to have this baby? Like, it's already, her water broke at this point where we are right now. It had already been 15 hours. We know that the possibility of infection was starting to grow. And so the fear of the unknown started to really settle in myself. And I know every single person in that room, like, when are we going to have this baby? Is she going to have to go into a C-section? Is she going to be able to achieve the goal that she had? And we're sitting there and we're just like, is this going to, and in my mind, I couldn't say anything. I wanted to stay positive, but in my mind, I'm like, is she going to what's going to happen here? Like, I was a little on edge and dealing with the fear of unknown. And we had doctors come in who were telling her that, like, hey, you might need to look at other options, and this is going to happen to you. Or people in your life, especially family members, close friends, are going to come into you as you're on your journey. If you're in sales or as an entrepreneur, and maybe you're not having the amount of success that you want right off the bat, and people are going to come at you and say, hey, maybe it's time to look at something else, or maybe it's time, I understand this is your passion. I understand this is your dream. I understand this is what you want to accomplish, but maybe it's time to take a look at something else. And what we have to do, what you have to do, is to fight back, is to say, hey, I believe in this. I believe in what I'm doing. I know I can do this. I know I can make this happen. I have the right support. I have the mentorship. I have the goals. Like, I know I can make this happen. And so the nurse came in at 15 hours and said, look, you can push or you can just rest. And she was like literally about to walk out of the room. And if she would have walked out of the room and we would have just rested, we would have had a C-section. It would have just not happened. Like, she did not care to push us to do anything. She didn't say, hey, like, you need to push right now. We need to start this process right now. Or, eventually in about an hour or two, you're going to have to get a C-section. She didn't even tell us that. And so I stopped the whole conversation and started questioning her. And this changed literally the whole outcome of the rest of this birth. Like, literally this one scenario, this one situation changed everything. And so what I urge you to do is, when things come your way, when situations happen, when people say things to you, is not to just take what they say and say, oh, okay, well, this is the only two options that I have, or this is what I have to do. No, what I urge you to do is to question people, to question situations, and really dive in to find out what needs to happen. Like, so many people just kind of like let things happen and see what happens. No, like, you have to question and dive in, because this is your life. Like, this is your outcome. And people don't care enough. Like, legitimately, people just don't care enough to explain things to you, to share things to you. And so you have to really break that down and get people to the bottom line. Like, that's our responsibility, is to get to the bottom line. And so now we're sitting here, we're going through this process of making a decision, and thank God we have that doula there to share some of her experiences, that we're able to ask questions and have the confidence to make a decision and say, look, if we don't push right now, we're going to have a C-section, and then none of this is going to happen, like, legitimately. And so the nurse came in and we said, no, we're having this baby. We're fulfilling this goal. We're going to make this happen. And so constantly, myself and the doula we're basically constantly keeping positive reinforcement, constantly coaching Rose throughout this process to keep her going. And so we find out that at this point in time, she has to do Pitocin. She needs to do a little bit of Pitocin to really get her contractions going to where we wanted. And at this point, if we look at Rose's goals, she essentially failed, because one of the things she wanted to do was have no what is it called? No medicine, like no medicine, nothing, just complete natural. And she had to have Pitocin or she was going to go into a C-section. And so I laid her down and had a conversation. And I just said to her, I was like, look, you're going to fail along your journey. Like, it's going to happen. You're not going to achieve every single goal that you have. What matters is not just achieving every single goal that you have. What matters is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to continue to keep your eye on that major goal that you have and reset new goals for yourself so that you can achieve that? And she said, hey, you know what? I still want that one goal. I still want it. It means so much to me. So I said, look, you're not going to achieve every goal that you have. Let it go. Let it go and forget about it. Sometimes we dwell so much on things that went wrong. We dwell on our failures. We dwell on the person that decided not to buy. We dwell on these things, and we get emotional, and we get down. We get depressed. We get anxiety. We think about things that we have to complete in our life. Like, we have bills to pay. We have people to take care of. We dwell and we get down and we shut down. And we have an option in these situations when we fail. We have an option to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to get better from this. And I'm going to just keep going. And I'm going to come up with a solution. So many people kind of drowned out instead of finding the next solution, setting the next goal, and keeping their eye on the prize and saying, I'm still going to achieve that one goal that I have, that major goal. I'm going to keep my eyes on the prize. I'm going to set a new goal, and I'm still going to get that. And so that's what she did. And she said, hey, you know what? I have to do this Pitocin. It is what it is. So I'm going to do it because I still have my eye on this one. I want to do a vaginal birth, and I want to do it as natural as humanly possible. And so without an epidural, and this is what she had to do. And so she went ahead and she did that. She learned from that little instance, and it's going to learn for us from the future. And she kept going with what she had at the time. One note that I put here, and I'm just kind of reading through my notes because these are notes that I wrote down when I was in the hospital. And she wrote, and I wrote, just like a locker room or in an office, everybody was saying, like, it's go time. Like, I was like, Rose, this is it. This is go time. You're going to experience a lot of pain. And I'm thinking this is exactly what it was like when I was in the locker room before a game, or even when in the office, like before a day. Like, I know I'm going to experience pain. I know I'm going to experience failure. I know I'm going to experience rejection, but this is go time. I am starting my day, or I am about to walk onto the field and play ball. It's going to be painful. It's not going to be easy, but this is go time, and I'm going to prepare my mind for this go time. And I just watched her kind of sit back, lay back in the chair, and she started preparing her mind for this go time. Like, this was it. This was her time that she was going to have to pull back and push like she's never pushed before at every single contraction. And I'm just sitting there watching her do this in amazement, because this is so hard to do. And sometimes we miss this, and like, we start our day and we're like, well, you know, let's just go through the day. But what if we started our day and we said, you know what, it's freaking go time right now. Like, it is go time. I don't care. I know I'm going to experience pain. I know today there's going to be some rejection. I know I'm going to want to sign somebody up, or I'm going to want to enroll somebody, or I want somebody to buy my service, and it's not going to happen. And I'm going to experience some rejection, and I'm going to experience some failure and some pain, but I'm going to keep going. And we get our mindset ready for that. And that's what she did. And I was really impressed. And here's the bottom line when it comes to pain: bliss, joy, natural high. The only way to experience those at an extremely high level is through pain. Bliss is on the other side of pain. You can't get to achieving crazy amazing goals or crazy amazing things that you want to in your life without pushing through pain. And this is something I learned with CrossFit, and it took me a while, and it, like, one day it just triggered in my mind, and I said it Monday night when I was speaking, was like, I'm straight up addicted. Like, listen to me closely. I am addicted to pain. Like, I really am. I did a CrossFit workout, and I'm pushing myself so hard through this workout. And I'm pushing, and I'm getting tingles in my head and my brain. And when I'm done with the workout, I'm laying on the floor, and one of the girls comes up to me, and she goes, why do you push so hard? Like, why do you want to win so bad? Why? And I like thought about it for a minute, and I was like, I'm addicted to this. I'm addicted to the pain. I really am, because right when I was done, I laid on the ground and this like feeling goes through me. All these endorphins released, and like I was in such a natural high that I was so addicted to it. And that's why I push through the pain. People are like, "Oh, why are you so relentless at achieving goals? Why do you go through all this pain?" And it's because the reward is so damn good. It's so damn good that I just love it. And it's like the same thing with having a baby. The bliss, the reward of holding that baby is so damn good that like it's worth all the pain. It's worth every second of it. And it's the same thing in sales. It's the same thing in life. It's the same thing in any goal that you want to achieve. Why do you go through the pain and the suffering and the failures and the unknowns and the rejections? You know why? Because the reward is so damn good. Running out of that tunnel in front of 102,000 people in Alabama, so damn good. Walking out and doing a speech in front of 4,000 people, and then walking off the stage and hearing everybody's story and how it impacted them and how it's changing their lives and how it's improving them is so damn good. That's why. And so if you understand that you're going to have the mindset, the relentless mindset that says, I'm going to endure this pain because the reward is so damn good, then nothing, I mean nothing, is going to be able to stop you. She found out the baby's sunny side up, and she needed to do a manual rotation, like legitimately a hand manual rotation, no epidural. She's sitting there, no epidural, and all I kept saying to her is, just remember, you're going to be holding this baby in your arms. You're going to be holding this baby in your arms. Like, so now, and the last big point that I want to make here is, what is your why? Why do you have the goal you want to achieve? Why do you want to close more sales? If you don't know why, then when you face adversity, you're going to quit. That's why most people, they have these ambitions, they have these dreams, they have these goals. They're excited. They're like super pumped for 1 week. They're super pumped for a month, or maybe even the first year. But the first sign of significant adversity, the first sign of a big obstacle, and they quit. They quit because they don't have a hard, solid reason why. And Rose's why was she wanted to hold that baby so bad. Everything was about holding that baby. All the pain she was feeling, she just kept saying to herself, I am going to hold this baby. So what is your why? Why do you want to close more sales? Why do you want to be a successful entrepreneur? And I'm going to do a video. I'm going to do it tomorrow on how to find your why in more detail. But what is your why? Why is that important to you? Because when obstacles come in your way, when you hit adversity, when you are suffering, when you're dealing with anxiety, when you're in pain, what's going to keep you in the game? And I promise you this, it cannot be money. It can't be money. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow. So she had to do a manual rotation. And one thing I'll say on all of these things along the way is we were constantly celebrating the little wins. We were constantly celebrating the little wins along the way, the little wins, the little things that happened. Like, okay, we got the baby. We found out the baby's sunny side up. It was rotated. We did the little bit of the Pitocin for 30 minutes. The contractions started up exactly where we needed them. The doctor came in and said, hey, look, the baby's in the right direction. More than likely, you're going to have a vaginal birth. Like, all of these little wins along the way are what kept us motivated, what kept us in the game. And that's another reason why little goals are important, because that crossing that off your list, achieving that, again, releases endorphins and keeps you in the game and keeps you excited. So So constantly looking for the small wins, and her why was just unreal. I mean, it was just unreal. And so for 3.5 hours, she kept pushing. She just kept pushing, and she just kept pushing. And finally, throughout this, she was not having progress. It was not having progress. Finally, she was having progress. And she just kept saying, I'm going to hold this baby in my arms. I'm going to hold this baby in my arms. The doula is coaching her. I'm coaching her. Mom and her sister are supporting her. And finally, she has the baby. And she holds that baby, and tears are coming out of my eyes, and tears are coming out of her eyes. And she's holding the baby, and she said, we did it. She said, the baby's crying. She's healthy. The baby's healthy. The doctor's saying everything's perfect. Everything's good. And that feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of we made it happen, we did it, we achieved it, that rush is just so damn good. And for all of you that have kids, you understand. For all of you that have ever achieved a major goal, you understand that feeling. And that's why all of this, that's why having a relentless mindset and going after what you want relentlessly, that's why it's so worth it. It's so amazing. And having the opportunity to hold her and just say to myself, like, this is mine. And the amount of love that just like explodes out of your heart is just, you can't even describe it. And for those of you that have kids on here, you know exactly what that feels like and exactly what that is. And it's something you can never go back. And it just solidified to me that bliss, that amazing sense of accomplishment is always on the other side of pain. And when it comes to closing sales, it's not easy. You're going to fail, and you're going to get a lot of rejection. When it comes to building a business, same thing. But bliss is only on the other side of pain. You can't experience this type of a fulfillment without suffering. You just can't, because it was too easy. It's too easy. Your body naturally releases those endorphins and that high only when you've suffered, when you've been through so much. So that's what I have today. I mean, I didn't expect to go that long, but it's just such an amazing experience. And when I was going through it, how I said, man, this is exactly like entrepreneurship, just in a shorter period of time, or this is exactly like building a book of business and sales just in a shorter period of time. It was so true. And it just melted my heart, and it's been an amazing adventure. So let me just go through and see if there's any questions or any comments here. So Michelle, Jeanette, Michelle Stevens, Emily, how are you? Cindy, what's up? Amen. Question and dive in 100%. Like, so many people just, they kind of just hear it for how it is, whether that's a client, a colleague, and they just kind of take it. But man, you have to dive in. You have to be like, wait. Let's stop for a second. I want all options. I want all options on the table. I want to break this down. I want to understand it as much as I can before I start making decisions. So let's see. Well said. Love this. This is exactly what I needed today. Awesome. I'm really glad. Amen. Anything that is easy is usually not fully satisfying, birth included. 100%. It's just not. So, things like building a book of business and entrepreneurship and starting a business, it's not easy. And what you have to suffer through and go through day in and day out for 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get that feeling. When you do, it is so damn good. It is so damn good. So that's all I have today. Glad that we had a pretty good turnout today. I see that there's not many questions, but I'm really excited for tomorrow. So her why was was holding that baby. Like, that was everything to her. And so tomorrow I'm going to break down. I actually spent 2 years, traveled 48 states, spoke with thousands of people, and asked them one question. Some of the most successful people asked them one question: what is your why? And I broke that down into 3 certain categories to help you along your journey find your why and your purpose, so you wake up every day excited, right? Not because it's Friday morning, but excited because it's Monday morning. So I'll do that tomorrow. So had a great time today. Glad. Awesome. Cool. You're welcome, Ep.16, and I'm glad it was relatable, and I hope it helped. It's just such a cool topic. So all of you have an amazing day today. I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.